The victims of a man described as one of WA's worst ever serial paedophiles are finally telling their stories. At least 8 boys were abused by Dennis John McKenna, but his victims believe there could have been hundreds more. McKenna ran the St Andrews boarding hostel in Katanning between 1975 and 1990. And this week, some of his victims made the journey back to a place that still evokes painful memories. Here's Jake Sturmer.
He'd get us down to his flat with another few blokes. Then kids would wander off. He might give us a Scotch and Coke, and as well. And then sometimes he'd just go off to bed, and he'd come back up and tap on the bed for you to come back and see him.
He'd just tap on your bed after the lights out. And you'd know what was going on.
There was different levels of touching.
He was in a position of power, and you knew if you didn't go along with it, the next day would just be hell.
This is a school reunion of the cruelest kind.
What years were you in?
89, 90.
These 4 men may not have been in the same year at school, but they have one thing in common: Dennis John McKenna. They were all victims of the serial paedophile who was warden of this hostel between 1975 and 1990.
Well, this is where we all used to gather, the little so-called group.
Hey?
This is where it was all at, yeah.
Yeah, we'll come down and see him, and you think you were getting special treatment. And yeah, you'd jump into bed, he'd be by himself, and yeah, whatever happened, happened.
Mick Hilder, Daryl Stevens, Steve Parkin and Todd Jeffress have made the painful journey back to St Andrews Hostel in Katanning. For most, it's their first return to where they were abused.
This is the love room in here, this is where he had his bed.
Many locals had no idea what was going on at the hostel. In fact, Dennis John McKenna was highly respected in the community. So much so, the Shire of Katanning awarded him Citizen of the Year in 1984.
I enjoyed my time working with Dennis McKenna. I was working as a volunteer. He had control of our projects, and I thought a genuine interest in the kids.
Ainsley Evans is a lifelong Katanning resident who worked with McKenna running a youth employment program.
Did you ever twig? Did you ever notice anything?
No, I never noticed anything, but I had no reason to look either. The kids seemed to be happy. I had my own children at school there at that time. They never twigged to anything, and I had no reason to be suspicious.
But eventually there was enough suspicion, and in 1991, McKenna was convicted of multiple sex offences. He spent 18 months behind bars, and his family was adamant he was not guilty.
Well, he's a person that does everything he can for anybody.
Mick Hilder and Todd Jeffress don't buy that. They told their stories as part of the 91 case, and now they're sharing their experiences with other abuse victims.
That was Dennis there, just like he was the head of the hostel board, and that was me receiving an award. And then after that I had to get dressed up as Olivia Newton-John and sing Physical to 200 people.
Was that a common sort of thing?
Yeah. Always getting dressed up as girls.
Your personality changes, you become sort of...
You can cover it
almost hyper-aggressive to make sure that you should sort of ward people off so you never become dominated again, and that sort of stuff, you just don't...
You can cover it up. I mean, a lot of people will probably see us down the street and we're happy and jovial and, everything's all normal, but really inside we've been hurting for a long time. I always remember a box of tissues being there.
I've had a breakdown. I find it very hard to make friends, especially of my own age. I've never had a friend my age. I've always got people older or younger, and it usually doesn't last very long. And I'm very much a loner. I spend a lot of time on my own. he'd stand up here, like before Grace, and because my nickname was Button, he'd say, "All right, everyone clap your hands and cheer for Button tonight because he's done something silly, you know." And he'd just belittle you. Yeah, creep.
Daryl Stevens was abused in 1977. 34 years on, his marriage has broken down and he suffers from depression.
He used to have his cupboard here and boys used to sit in the corner. Yeah. Used to get 10 of us sometimes in here.
Steve Parkin is a part of the latest court case with Daryl Stevens, and the abuse has taken its toll.
I do have a drinking problem. I do know that. I drink every day. I probably started young too. Probably started bad drinking when I was 15, 16 probably.
When you were here?
No. Just probably after I left and just, yeah, it probably hits home. You go, well, you're trying to probably hide it. You're probably trying to hide that thing that's in your back of your mind. And I look back, and I can look back and I can recall just about everything that happened here.
Steve Parkin's brother, who also went to St Andrews, committed suicide a few years ago. He was one of 7 boys who lived in the hostel that have now killed themselves. And while they will never be able to reveal if they were abused, the 4 victims here today believe there are many more who haven't come forward.
I honestly reckon 400 or 500 more kids or boys will come forward, or children, because he's just a sick man. It's in his system. I wouldn't. He's a serial paedophile.
The 4 men here today are sharing their experiences in the hope more victims will go public. Some have already received $13,000 as part of the state government's Redress scheme, the system set up to compensate victims of abuse in state care.
Is $13,000 adequate?
How do you answer that? What is the 13,000 for? Is that to shut us up? Is that to? No, it's not. No, not for some of these boys that have suffered horrendous abuse. But money figure will never fix that, will it? Healing, and that's what I'm here for.
While it may not be all about the money, their lawyer is seeking an ex gratia payment from the state government worth hundreds of thousands of dollars. The Attorney-General Christian Porter declined an interview but said he would consider any application on its merits.
All those showers were open and he used to come in here and talk to you.
Despite making changes, the hostel could never shake its past. Numbers steadily declined after McKenna was convicted in 1991 and the hostel was shut down in 2009. And the memory of McKenna is slowly being removed from the town. His name has been wiped from the honour board in the Katanning Shire offices. McKenna will be sentenced for the latest offences next month, but that won't be the end of the sexual abuse allegations stemming from the hostel. Another worker who can't legally be named is alleged to have abused more children. So while the sun is setting on Katanning, it's far from setting on this saga.
Jake Sturmer there.